Hey, CISSP warriors. Welcome to InfoSec Guardians. Today, we are venturing into Domain 6, Security Assessment and Testing. But wait, before we unravel Domain 6, have you seen our exploration of Domains 1 to 5? We have got the entire CISSP journey ready for you in our playlist. We have covered the fundamentals, risk management, security architecture, networking, and so much more. But today, it is all about diving deep into scenarios, assessments, and real-world security challenges. Domain 6, here we come. We will dissect these scenarios step by step, ensuring you are CISSP ready. Before we dive in, don't forget to subscribe and ring that notification bell to stay up to date with our CISSP journey. Need study resources. They are in the video description, CISSP study guides, practice tests, and more. So, let us conquer Domain 6. And if you missed Domains 1 to 5, no worries. They are right there in the playlist. Get ready for some brain-bending scenarios, and together, we will master CISSP Domain 6. Stay tuned, and let's get started with domain overview first. Domain 6, Security Assessment and Testing, is a critical part of the CISSP certification. It focuses on evaluating and ensuring the security of an organization's information systems, networks, and assets. This domain emphasizes the importance of proactive security assessments and testing to identify vulnerabilities, validate security measures, and maintain the overall security posture. The main objective of Domain 6 is to equip candidates with the knowledge and skills to conduct security assessments, understand the various methodologies, tools, and techniques for evaluating the security of an organization's information systems, implement security testing, perform tests and assessments to validate the effectiveness of security controls, policies, and procedures, analyze assessment results, interpret and analyze assessment findings to identify vulnerabilities, weaknesses, and areas requiring improvement, develop and implement remediation plans, create action plans to address identified vulnerabilities and security gaps, monitor and report on security assessment and testing, continuously assess and test security controls, and report findings to relevant stakeholders. Domain 6 is highly relevant in today's ever-evolving cybersecurity landscape. Security assessment and testing are crucial components of any comprehensive security strategy. By assessing, testing, and validating security measures, organizations can identify and mitigate vulnerabilities before they are exploited by attackers, ensure regulatory compliance and adherence to security standards, continuously improve the overall security posture of their IT environments, enhance the resilience of critical systems and data, provide assurance to stakeholders, clients, and partners regarding the security of their information. Domain 6 comes with its own set of challenges, including complexity. Security assessments and testing often involve complex tools and methodologies, requiring candidates to understand and apply them effectively. Evolving threat landscape. Keeping up with emerging threats and vulnerabilities is a constant challenge, as attackers continually develop new tactics. Resource constraints. Organizations may face resource limitations, both in terms of personnel and technology when conducting security assessments, balancing security and usability. Striking the right balance between security and user-friendliness can be challenging, as overly restrictive security measures may impede productivity. Candidates in Domain 6 are expected to demonstrate proficiency in assessing and testing the security of information systems, understand various testing methodologies, including vulnerability assessment, penetration testing, and security audits. Be capable of identifying vulnerabilities and weaknesses in security controls. Interpret and analyze assessment results to make informed security recommendations. Develop and implement security remediation plans. Stay informed about emerging threats and best practices in security assessment and testing. Overall, Domain 6, Security Assessment and Testing, plays a crucial role in preparing professionals to safeguard critical information assets and protect against cybersecurity threats in today's interconnected world. Let us now explore some key concepts you need to grasp to master this domain. Security assessment and testing. Security assessment and testing involve evaluating the effectiveness of security controls, policies, and measures within an organization. This process identifies vulnerabilities, weaknesses, and areas for improvement to maintain a robust security posture. Vulnerability assessment. Vulnerability assessment is the systematic process of identifying, classifying, and prioritizing vulnerabilities in a system or environment. It helps organizations understand their exposure to potential threats and aids in prioritizing risk mitigation efforts. Penetration testing. Penetration testing, or pen testing, involves simulating cyber attacks to exploit weaknesses in systems, applications, and networks. It assesses the security posture and resilience of an organization by testing its defenses against real-world threats. Security audits. Security audits are systematic evaluations of an organization's security policies, procedures, and controls to assess compliance and identify areas for improvement. Audits help organizations ensure that their security measures align with industry standards and regulations. Red team and blue team. In cybersecurity, the red team simulates attackers, attempting to breach systems, while the blue team defends against these simulated attacks. Red team and blue team exercises help organizations identify vulnerabilities and improve their security strategies. Risk-based assessments. Risk-based assessments prioritize security assessments and testing based on the level of risk associated with different assets, systems, or processes. Organizations can focus their resources on addressing vulnerabilities and weaknesses that pose the greatest threat. Security controls. Security controls are measures, policies, and procedures that organizations implement to protect their assets, systems, and data. Security controls are categorized into administrative, technical, and physical controls, each serving a unique role in security. Continuous monitoring. Continuous monitoring involves real-time or periodic assessments of security controls, threats, and vulnerabilities. It helps organizations stay vigilant against evolving threats and ensures that security measures remain effective over time. Security baselines. Security baselines are predefined security configurations and settings that provide a starting point for secure system configuration. Organizations use security baselines to establish consistent security standards and reduce the attack surface. Security assessment methodologies. Various methodologies and frameworks, such as NIST, OWASP, and ISO, guide the process of security assessment and testing. These methodologies offer structured approaches to security assessments, ensuring comprehensive coverage. Understanding these key concepts is vital for professionals in CISSP Domain 6. They provide a solid foundation for evaluating and ensuring the security of information systems, networks, and assets, which is crucial in today's dynamic cybersecurity landscape. Let us now move on to our scenario-based questions. ABC Healthcare, a large healthcare organization, is undergoing a comprehensive security assessment of its network infrastructure and medical record systems. Their goal is to identify vulnerabilities and weaknesses that could compromise patient data and ensure regulatory compliance. Which of the following security assessment methods would be the most suitable for ABC Healthcare's needs? The options are: Option A, vulnerability scanning. Option B, social engineering testing. Option C, security code review. Option D, business impact analysis, BIA. For better understanding of question, try to identify the keywords in the question. Please be mindful to read the question, read the options, and then reread the question. Now, let us review and briefly discuss the options. Option B, social engineering testing, assesses an organization's susceptibility to human-based attacks, such as phishing or impersonation. It is crucial for overall security, but may not provide the comprehensive assessment needed for network infrastructure and medical record systems. Option C, security code review, focuses on examining the source code of applications to identify security flaws. This is valuable for application security, but may not be the primary method for assessing network infrastructure and medical record systems. Option D, business impact analysis, BIA, is a process used to assess the potential impact of various scenarios on an organization's operations, including financial and operational aspects. BIA is important, but is not a security assessment method for identifying vulnerabilities in network infrastructure and medical record systems. Option A, vulnerability. Scanning is the most suitable security assessment method for ABC Healthcare's needs. Let us understand why vulnerability scanning is the appropriate choice. Comprehensive network assessment. Vulnerability scanning involves using automated tools to scan systems, networks, and applications for known vulnerabilities and misconfigurations. Given the complexity of healthcare networks and the criticality of patient data, this method provides a comprehensive assessment of potential weaknesses that could compromise security. Regulatory compliance. Healthcare organizations like ABC Healthcare are subject to strict regulatory requirements, such as Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act in the United States. Vulnerability. Scanning helps organizations assess their compliance by identifying vulnerabilities and potential gaps in security controls required by regulations. Efficiency and coverage. Vulnerability. Scanning is efficient and can cover a large number of systems and devices in a relatively short time. This is essential for healthcare organizations with extensive networks and diverse IT infrastructure. In summary, for a healthcare organization like ABC Healthcare, vulnerability scanning is the most appropriate and effective security assessment method for identifying vulnerabilities, weaknesses, and potential compliance issues in their network infrastructure and medical record systems. Let us now move on to our next question. ABC Bank, a multinational financial institution, is preparing for a security control testing process to evaluate the effectiveness of its security controls. They want to ensure that their controls are operating as intended and providing the necessary protection for customer data and financial transactions. Which of the following statements about security control testing is accurate? Here are the options. Option A. Security control testing primarily involves documenting security policies and procedures. Option B. Security control testing is conducted solely by internal teams to maintain confidentiality. Option C. Security control testing evaluates the implementation and effectiveness of security controls. Option D. Security control testing is a one-time process and does not need to be repeated. Now, let us evaluate and understand each option to find the correct statement. Option A. Security control testing may involve documenting security policies and procedures, but it is primarily focused on assessing the operational effectiveness of security controls, not documentation. Option B. Security control testing can be conducted by both internal and external teams, depending on the organization's requirements and the need for independence and objectivity in the testing process. It is not solely conducted by internal teams for confidentiality reasons. Option D. Security control testing is not a one-time process. It is typically performed periodically and in response to changes in the security landscape, regulatory requirements, or significant changes in the organization's systems and infrastructure. Regular testing is essential to ensure ongoing security effectiveness. Option C talks about implementation and effectiveness. Let us understand each of these aspects one by one. Implementation evaluation in security control testing involves assessing whether security controls have been correctly implemented according to design specifications and security policies. This ensures that controls are in place and functioning as intended. Effectiveness assessment goes beyond implementation, where security control testing measures the effectiveness of controls in mitigating risks and protecting assets. It seeks to determine if controls are capable of achieving their intended security objectives. And hence, the correct statement will be, security control testing evaluates the implementation and effectiveness of security controls, which is option C. In summary, security control testing is a critical process for organizations like ABC Bank to evaluate the implementation and effectiveness of their security controls. It helps ensure that controls are operating as intended and providing the necessary protection for customer data and financial transactions. Are you able to understand the scenario and align with the explanation? Let us know your thoughts in comment section below. Before moving to the next question, we would appreciate your support to like and share this video and subscribe our channel. This will help us to reach out to other aspirants also. Let us now move on to our next question. You are a security consultant for a financial institution. The organization is in the process of conducting a security assessment of its critical infrastructure. The objective is to identify vulnerabilities and assess the effectiveness of security controls. During the assessment, you encounter a potential vulnerability in the database server used for customer financial data. You need to decide on the appropriate course of action. What should be your next step after discovering a potential vulnerability in the database server during a security assessment? Here are the options. Option A. Immediately inform the database administrator about the vulnerability. Option B. Document the vulnerability and assess its potential impact on the organization. Option C. Exploit the vulnerability to determine the extent of the potential damage. Option D. Share the vulnerability with external security researchers for independent verification. Now let us review each option, one by one. Option A. Immediately inform the database administrator about the vulnerability. This option suggests notifying the database administrator immediately. While it's essential to report vulnerabilities promptly, it may not be the best initial action during a security assessment. Jumping directly to disclosure without further assessment could disrupt the testing process and potentially expose the organization to risk. Option B. Document the vulnerability and assess its potential impact on the organization. This sounds to be most appropriate course of action. In security assessment and testing, it's crucial to document the vulnerability, understand its potential impact on the organization, and prioritize it based on risk. This enables the organization to make informed decisions about remediation. Option C. Exploit the vulnerability to determine the extent of the potential damage. Exploiting a vulnerability without proper authorization is unethical and potentially illegal. Security professionals should never engage in unauthorized exploitation, as it can cause harm and damage to the organization. Option D. Share the vulnerability with external security researchers for independent verification. Sharing a potential vulnerability with external researchers can be part of a responsible disclosure process. However, it should not be the initial step when you discover a vulnerability during an assessment. First, the organization needs to understand the issue. assess its impact, and take appropriate actions to mitigate the risk. In this scenario, the best initial step is to document the vulnerability and assess its potential impact on the organization, which is option B. This allows for a structured and responsible approach to addressing the vulnerability, while avoiding any unauthorized exploitation or hasty disclosure. Let us now move on to our next question. You are the Information Security Officer of a large financial institution. Your organization has recently implemented a new firewall to enhance security. As part of your ongoing security assessment and testing activities, you want to evaluate the effectiveness of this firewall in blocking unauthorized traffic and identifying potential vulnerabilities. Which of the following actions would be the most appropriate for this assessment? The options are: Option A, perform a vulnerability scan. Option B, conduct a penetration test. Option C, run a port scan. Option D, deploy a firewall rule audit. Culture the habit of reading the question, reading the options, and then again, rereading the question. This will improve your reading skill, which will be helpful in real exam. Also, always wear the hat of a manager while answering. Let us now evaluate each option. Option A. Perform a vulnerability scan. This option involves scanning the network for known vulnerabilities. While this is an essential part of security testing, it primarily focuses on identifying vulnerabilities within the system and may not directly assess the effectiveness of the firewall. Option B. Conduct a penetration test. A penetration test simulates an attack on the network to discover vulnerabilities, but it doesn't directly evaluate the firewall's effectiveness in blocking unauthorized traffic. It assesses the security posture of the network as a whole. Option C. Run a port scan. Port scanning is a technique used to discover open ports on a network, which can be part of a vulnerability assessment but doesn't directly assess the firewall's blocking capabilities. Option D. Deploy a firewall rule. Audit a firewall rule. Audit involves reviewing and testing the firewall's rule set to ensure that it is configured correctly and that it effectively blocks unauthorized traffic while permitting legitimate traffic. It directly assesses the firewall's effectiveness. While options A, B, and C are important security assessment and testing activities, they do not specifically evaluate the effectiveness of the new firewall in blocking unauthorized traffic. Option D, deploying a firewall rule audit, is the most appropriate action for assessing the firewall's performance and security configuration. This involves reviewing the firewall's rule set, testing it, and ensuring it aligns with the organization's security policies and requirements. Remember that CISSP Domain 6 focuses on assessing and testing security measures, and in this scenario, a firewall rule audit aligns with the objective of evaluating a specific security control, the firewall, for its effectiveness. If you think these questions can help others, hit share to spread the knowledge. And don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell. Your support keeps InfoSec Guardians going strong. Thanks for being part of our community. Let us now move to our next scenario. You are a security consultant working for a large financial institution. The organization is planning to conduct a security assessment of their web applications to identify vulnerabilities and weaknesses. The goal is to ensure the applications meet the highest security standards. Which security assessment method or technique would be most appropriate for this situation? Here goes the options. Option A, vulnerability scanning. Option B, penetration testing. Option C, security auditing. Option D, code review. Let us now review each option and check if they are suitable for this scenario. Option A. Vulnerability. Scanning. Vulnerability scanning involves the automated detection of known vulnerabilities in a system or application. While it can be a useful part of an overall security assessment strategy, it primarily focuses on known vulnerabilities and may not identify new or customized threats. In the scenario where the goal is to ensure the web applications meet the highest security standards, vulnerability scanning alone may not be sufficient, as it may miss unknown or zero-day vulnerabilities. Option B. Penetration testing. Penetration testing, also known as ethical hacking, involves actively probing and testing the security of a system or application to discover vulnerabilities and weaknesses. It is a more comprehensive and hands-on approach compared to vulnerability scanning. In this scenario, where the goal is to ensure the highest security standards for web applications, penetration testing would be the most appropriate choice, as it simulates real-world attack scenarios and provides a thorough evaluation of the application's security posture. Option C. Security auditing. Security auditing typically involves the review and analysis of security policies, procedures, and controls to ensure they are being followed and are effective. It may not be as hands-on or technically focused as penetration testing, and may not uncover specific vulnerabilities in web applications. While security auditing is an essential part of overall security management, it may not be the best choice for assessing the security of web applications. Option D. Code review. Code review involves a detailed analysis of the source code of an application to identify security flaws and vulnerabilities. This method is effective for assessing the security of an application at the code level, but it does not consider runtime or environmental issues. While code review is valuable, it is not as well suited as penetration testing when the goal is to ensure the highest security standards for web applications, because it doesn't test the application in a live environment. In this scenario, option B, penetration testing is the most appropriate method for assessing the security of web applications, as it provides a comprehensive and hands-on evaluation, simulating real-world attacks and identifying vulnerabilities and weaknesses that may not be discovered through other methods. Let us now move on to our next question. You are a cybersecurity consultant, responsible for assessing and testing the security of a financial institution's network infrastructure. As part of the assessment, you are tasked with identifying vulnerabilities and weaknesses in their system. You have performed a network scan and identified an open port on one of their servers. Your next step is to determine the service running on this open port. What is the best approach to determine the service running on the open port in the scenario described above? Now, let us see the options. Option A, banner grabbing. Option B, port scanning. Option C, vulnerability scanning. Option D, network mapping. Let us first understand the purpose of each technique to decide the best approach. Option A, banner grabbing. Banner grabbing is the process of collecting information about a target system, such as service and version details, by analyzing banners or headers provided by the system. In the context of the scenario, banner grabbing could be a useful technique to identify the service running on the open port. It can provide information about the specific service and version. This option is a valid approach. Option B, port scanning. Port scanning is the act of systematically scanning a network for open ports. It is used to discover services and devices on a network. While port scanning is essential for identifying open ports, it doesn't directly reveal the service running on the port. It simply identifies that a port is open. This option is not the best choice for determining the service. Option C, vulnerability. Scanning. Vulnerability. Scanning is used to identify security vulnerabilities in a system. It typically involves scanning for known vulnerabilities and misconfigurations. It doesn't directly reveal the service running on an open port. While it's a valuable step in the security assessment process, it's not the primary method for identifying services. Option D. Network mapping. Network mapping involves creating a map of the network to understand its layout, structure, and connected devices. While network mapping can help you gain a broader understanding of the network, it won't directly reveal the service running on the open port. It focuses on the layout and topology of the network. In this scenario, the best approach for identifying the service running on the open port is to perform banner grabbing. Banner grabbing involves connecting to the open port and analyzing the response, or banner provided by the service. This banner often includes information about the service and its version, allowing you to determine the specific service running on the open port. Once you have this information, you can further assess the service for vulnerabilities and weaknesses. Banner grabbing is a key technique in the assessment and testing process, as it helps in identifying and understanding the services and versions in use, which is crucial for evaluating the security of a system or network. Thanks for tuning in to InfoSec Guardian's CISSP video series. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up and share it with others who might benefit. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell to stay updated with our latest CISSP content. Your support is greatly appreciated, and together we can master the CISSP exam and strengthen our cybersecurity knowledge. See you in the next video.